Sam Worthington, what an honor to have you here on the podcast. How are you doing today?
It's good. I'm doing great. It's good to be here.
Did you just flew in?
Yeah, landed an hour ago.
And now you're sitting here in a studio. I'm going to bring this up because I can't believe it. When I walked in, you had said you'd already started listening to this show.
Yeah, I watched them all. I watched all the ones you've done. I like stuff like this. I saw an interview you gave as well where you said that you started it because you liked behind the scenes on DVDs.
Yes.
And they don't do them anymore.
Yeah. Well, they do them, but they're not as like that's how that was my film school.
I was the same thing. I grew up watching that. We would get the ones we would get from the Blockbuster video.
Yes.
Your choices was probably because of the extras that was on it.
Yeah.
So
do you remember which ones? You remember what? Mine was Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's good. It's weird because I see them. You can now find them on YouTube's.
Yeah.
If you go digging, so I do that quite a bit. I like the masters. Like I like Ridley Scott, Gladiator, Blade Runner. I like the Nolan Batman. All of those.
Dude.
I like. I saw. What do I watch? Peter Weir, Master and Commander. I watched that recently. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And someone had literally downloaded that from a VHS, I think.
Yeah.
And then, and I've seen a lot of gyms, but don't tell him that because it's embarrassing.
Oh, are you joking? I would get every time Terminator 2 would release another special edition.
Yeah.
I probably own 9 copies of that film because they put out one edition with the T2 arm, and I was like, and I have it sitting in my apartment at home. It's so incredible.
I think he likes it. I think that's why he's kind of got us to talk about all the mechanics of this now because he's grown up. That was what he did for his films. That helped promote the films.
Well, think about the full circle. You're now in a movie that people are watching special features for.
We're talking about behind the scenes for. It's great. It's weird, but yeah.
It's so you mentioned the Nolan Batmans. I'll never forget on the Dark Knight Blu-ray, there was this featurette about how they flipped the 18-wheeler. Remember that scene?
Yeah, did it for real.
Dude, they had like this guy, I think his name was Jim Wilkie. He's a stunt driver. Okay. He's in that truck while it's flipping. Unreal. And he's also the guy who drove the plane into the hangar in Tenet.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine
That's so cool. Right. I like when Heath, a lot happened on that. Heath was on point, but when the truck flipped and he turned, he says, "Come on, hit me." And that was all improv. And when the thing didn't work.
Yes.
The explosion didn't work. And Heath kind of just stayed in the moment. And then it went off and he was like, did that weird, cool behavior.
Are you a big IMAX guy?
I've seen movies at IMAX.
Because like the Nolan films particularly.
In Sydney, we only had one IMAX. Like it was very rare to go to Sydney and see an IMAX movie. It wasn't that many like Nolan does now or people do now. There was only documentaries when I was growing up.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have so many questions to ask you. I want to talk about your incredible career, but also obviously we're talking about the new Avatar film as well, and we're going to dive into everything. But as I start the show, usually I talk about the pivotal theatrical experiences that were kind of important in our lives that kind of gave us the understanding of the power of movies. And James Cameron, Avatar, Terminator, True Lies, Titanic, these are all films that people had extreme
It's funny, when I first met him, you know that scene in Entourage where the guy walks into Jim's office?
Yeah.
I did that. I walked down the Lightstorm, the old Lightstorm building. I walked down the office. I remember saying this to my friends, and there's the posters of Titanic, True Lies, as you said, Aliens, Abyss.
Is this before? This is before you shot Avatar?
That was the first time I met him.
So how did that meeting even come to be?
I did an audition in Australia. I'd been working in Australia for about 8 years. And then I'd done lots of movies. I couldn't really do much more. Like I remember Russell Crowe told me you do as much as you can in your own country before you... So when you go to America, you're kind of ready. You're not nervous. So that was the kind of plan. And then I got this audition, but they wouldn't tell me what the movie was, who the director was. It couldn't tell me anything about it. And I was like, I was kind of reluctant, a bit peed off at that. And I was in one of those headspaces anyway about it. I think it cost me like $40 in fuel to drive. So I was like, this is a waste of time. This isn't going anywhere. And that was the attitude I had. And then that attitude kind of translated into the performance. I remember the first line was, "Are you Jake Sully?" And it was meant to be, "Yes, ma'am." And I went, "Uh-huh." And I had that weird attitude.
Because you were like stressed
just
out.
a bit annoyed that no one could tell me anything. They wouldn't tell me nothing. It was a waste of time. And then a week later, I get a call to go, would you come and see Jim Cameron in America? I said, what for? They said, that was the audition. It's like, oh, whoa. I said, okay. And then, so I flew to America and then met him off that, coming down that hallway, and then I met him. And he said, yeah, he goes, I saw you go, you had me at and he goes, I just wanted to meet you. And I said, have you seen any of the work I've done? He goes, no, nothing. But I was kind of ready to go on that journey of trying to get that job.
Wow.
Which took a while to get.
What blows my mind about that story is it's a happy accident in the sense that if had you known it was James Cameron,
probably wouldn't have. I would have said the lines.
Right.
Yeah, I saw it. It was one of those serendipitous moments where, and I'd sold everything I owned. I was living in my car. That was the thing. I was 29, and I remember waking up one day and went, I looked around and went, this is what makes me, all this stuff. So I decided to have an auction at my house with all my mates, and I sold everything I owned, which didn't amount to much, which was bizarre.
Wow.
And that was it. I was just living in my car by choice. And so when I met Jim, that was what I mean by it took me $40 in fuel. I thought, it's a waste of time. This industry's killing me, you know? And that attitude and meeting Jim, that's the attitude of Jake. It's so, I look back now and go, Jake's attitude is, I'll go to another planet and play with crazy people. And that was me. I'll come to Hollywood and play with you guys and see what happens. And yeah, there was something in that spirit. You're right. Whether it was a happy accident or just serendipitous, who knows? It was. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And as I was saying, like with like movies, and like Terminator 2 was the film when I was a kid that I remember my parents wouldn't let me go to the theater to see it because I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad got a babysitter one night. Her name was Tiffany. I'll never forget this. And they went out to see it, and I waited at the door for them to come back because I'd seen the trailers on TV. Yeah. And I was like, how is it? And my mom was like, it was incredible. I was like, Mom, if I get all S's on my next report card, will you let me watch it? And back then it was like S's for satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and needs improvement. And I had a couple N's and a couple U's. And so she was like, if you get all S's, I'll let you watch it. Because there was like no sex or nudity in that movie. It was rated R for violence.
Apart from
language.
Arnold at the front.
Yeah. That's true. It's true. I forgot about the Arnold butt. But I worked really hard as a third grader and got all S's. And I'll never forget sitting there with my mom and dad. I was in between them, and Robert Patrick comes up from the floor as the T-1000 and becomes the security officer, which is a cool fact that those are twin brothers. And that was the moment in my mind, either subconsciously or consciously, that I realized that movies were going to be everything to me.
That's
and
so
I think
cool.
it was because I loved magic as a kid too, just how magicians get tricks to do. And that was the movie for me. And I was curious, what was that movie for you that kind of, even it might have been subconscious.
That's a very hard question. I had a dad my dad loves movies, and where I grew up, like there wasn't a cinema, and there wasn't even a video store when I first grew up. There was a guy that came around your house with a suitcase.
Are you joking?
No, and they were like random,
like
pirated copies. And then we got the video store, and then my dad became like a pirate. So my dad would like tape the videos onto his blank tapes, and he was very happy with that, but he'd always tell me, shh, thinking that he's going to get arrested by the FBI in buttfuck Australia. You know what I mean? It's like, so, and then Dad got like the actual VHS machine, and I said they wouldn't be selling you the machine if it was illegal. Like we can tape to tape, and so we just would get. You know, my dad would just love watching movies, so that's how But there was no way you were going to be an actor, and there was no way you were going to be in movies. That wasn't even on the cards. It was just this thing of we would get 10 movies for $10 every Thursday night, late night shopping, and that they would last as we'd return them on Sunday, and I'd watch them over and over. And then my dad would. It's weird. He would tape so many movies. He had like a wall of all these taped movies. But then when DVD came out, he would buy the DVDs of the VHSs. So he's got the DVDs. I think he had some laser discs too of the same movies, right? So my dad's got all this stuff. And even to this day, he's like, "It's one day will all be yours." And I'm like, this is fucking landfill, man. Like, you can download the movie. Do you understand that concept? Like, you don't have to pirate anymore.
Your dad and I would get along because I have 2,000 Bluerays that sit behind me. Because I like, and maybe it's the same thing with vinyl.
Tactile, maybe.
Oh, I like, do you listen to vinyl?
Yeah, he's got all that too. But you're exactly right. It's that same kind of sensibility of It's weird with my dad though, because you can't touch them. Like he would,
like a museum.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, because
Yeah.
they meant a lot to him. And a lot of my memories growing up, that the older you get, the more I know these questions are coming. I can't tell you one pivotal thing. I know movies that I went to with my dad up in the city when we eventually got old enough to take me to the
Like
cinema.
which ones?
I know we saw Back to the Future. You got the poster over there.
Hell yeah.
We saw Temple of Doom. Remember that? Or Kalima. You know, I mean, I was like 12, 13 years old,
Yeah.
scared shitless when The Heart came out.
And that movie
Yeah.
was PG, which was crazy because that was before the 13 was
really
created.
heavy. I saw that before Raiders as
Yeah.
well, because it was
Oh, that's interesting.
Raiders. I was too young, and then
I did that with Back to the Future. I saw the third one first.
Is that?
And then I went back to 1 and 2. But I have a soft spot for the third one because I love Doc's love story.
Yeah.
But it's same thing with Die
Which
Hard.
they wanted to do that third one originally. I think
Yes.
someone had said Zemeckis said he always wanted to make the Western. But I think, and then when I was older, it was like there was a cinema in Perth, so it took us several hours to drive to
Wow.
it. And that was more. That was when it was weird, random. It was called the Lumiere, and it had movies like Reservoir Dogs screened there when it first came out. It was like one cinema in the whole of Perth.
And you drive 4 hours.
It was a heavy drive to get up to the city, and but then you'd see like a French movie like Man Bites Dog, Robert Browning's Freaks. So whatever was on, my dad would take me to these random movies. I think I saw Mean Streets there. I saw, like they redid it, and that was the whole point. It was like what we'd call an art house movie, art house cinema. But for me, it was just different. My dad exposing me to all different movies, and my dad was of the generation of Great Escape and Bridge on the River Kwai, Godfather, Taxi Driver. So my dad was just feeding me this stuff, not knowing his son was going to end up in movies, And I saw Titanic on New Year's Day. On a date with 2 girls.
Wait,
that makes me sound better than what I was.
A date with 2 girls?
Well, they were friends, and they didn't want to go on a single date with me.
Wait, was there one in particular you were dating?
No, one in particular I wanted to date, but a friend said this guy's a creep. And so I remember we took him, and then the only seats available were down the front. So you had the neck breakers. So I'm watching Titanic 3 hours long, or whatever it was, 180 minutes.
Yeah.
Front row trying to hook up with the girl while watching the movie.
Dude.
Didn't go very well, like most.
Movie dates were
Yeah.
like the greatest thing ever. Like asking a girl
I
out to
love
go to the
them.
movies. It was like my favorite.
Yeah.
And I was always so nervous.
Well, I had
to do
so
it.
many hours on the bus to get up to the city,
Yeah.
so I had all that time to sweat out the nerves. And then by the time I got there, I would take girls to the weirdest movies, like Police Academy. And so crap, and then you take them to the claw machine beforehand, try to win them something.
Yeah.
Get the popcorn, and you're wooing them. Or you're wooing them. You think you're wooing them.
Yeah.
You're just a jerk at 13, 14 years old trying to, with these weird random movies. The worst ever, I'll tell you this is highly embarrassing. So my dad said that you have to show a girl a classic movie, and that will really kind of, get her going. She'll fall in love with you for these classics. And it was, then the video store at the time, there would be action, romance, classics. So I remember looking at the classics. So with one girl I really liked, I got a classic movie, brought her home. And then Dad said, "How did the date go?" I said, "Not very good, man." And he said, "What was the classic movie you got?" I said, "Deliverance."
Oh my! You're joking.
And so by the time it got to the squeal piggy squeal scene,
scene.
this girl was like, "This is what you like? Is this the idea?" And left. That was the end of that. Because he was obviously meaning like From Here to Eternity or something very romantic.
Had you seen Deliverance?
No, man, it was in the classic section.
You had
I
no
thought,
idea.
This is good. This will work.
That's one of the it's interesting that brings up an interesting idea of are there movies you wish you could see again, not knowing anything about them?
That's interesting.
By the time I saw Deliverance, I knew that those scenes were in the film. But I can't imagine the look on that
I was
girl's
13
face.
or 14. Yeah. So dumb. I didn't know what it was about.
Dude, I also missed just going to those stores. Blockbuster for me, I used to ride my bike to Blockbuster, and it's funny because we're talking about James Cameron here, and those were the movies I was renting over and over and over again. I watched T2, True Lies, The Abyss.
They were the
Aliens,
big ones, and that's the thing. Jim, he does blockbusters. That's what he did. I remember
Yeah.
growing up, they were the ones that dominated the store.
Yes.
Like when, Terminator 2 came in, there was rows and rows of it and you had to
Yeah.
book them in advance. I remember that.
I know Jim didn't
Yeah.
do this movie. Do you remember the movie Last Action Hero?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was everything to me.
That was kind of a weird movie.
But it was like, it was my dream. Because like I
the
used
kid
to...
jumps in the movie, doesn't
Oh
he?
my
Yeah,
gosh!
hangs out
Like,
with
Arnold was my hero growing up, so that made Jim Cameron a hero of
Yeah,
mine.
yeah.
But then to think about a kid in a movie, I think John McTiernan directed Last Action Hero, who did Die Hard.
I remember, yeah.
And this kid goes into the movie with Arnold, and it's like that is my dream.
Yeah.
To be on a movie set and somehow sitting there with Arnold, just geeking
yeah.
out about filmmaking, and like the kid knows everything about the movies, and the actor
I love when
doesn't.
Arnold plays Hamlet in that thing,
To be or not to be. Not to be.
It's a classic.
Dude, his one-liners, like you go back. I mean, my favorite one's in Commando. Have you seen Commando?
Yeah, stick around, Bennett.
Yes.
Let off some steam.
Do you remember the airplane one?
Oh, he's dead tired.
Yeah, like literally
That's how I grew up with all of that.
he chokes this
That's
guy
the thing.
out.
Like, where I grew up, as I said, you weren't.
Yeah.
You were going to work in the power plant where your dad worked. That's where you went. You weren't going to be working with Jim or meeting Arnold or so. It's stuck in my head. It's so bizarre. And the older I get, and I tell my sons, and they're like, "How do you remember all this?" And I go, "I've got no idea." I think my dad loved it that much that it imprinted in my head a bit.
Yeah.
And so then when I go and do movies or meet directors, it's almost like their filmography, you kind of know. So you kind of, when I first met Jim, I knew all his movies and the baggage that came with him. So partly I was nervous as a fan.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get over that and start talking and connecting about the work. That's what it was with Jim. We talked about certain things in his movies that I'd done, like in Terminator 2. Like he was in the helicopter when the explosion went off.
Oh my gosh.
And so that shot was handheld by Jim, and he held it as the shockwave hit the helicopter, and he's very proud of that shot.
Wow.
Think about that. That's crazy.
Wow.
And why, where the Liquid Man came from in Jim's head. And I think he had that idea. He'd probably tell me I'm completely wrong on this, but I think he wanted that idea in the first one, but of course they had no budget.
Right.
So he couldn't come up with the concept. So when it came to the
CG
sequel,
wasn't there yet either, yeah.
It hadn't caught up to his imagination yet. And that's why it's in there. And which is, everyone remembers that Liquid Man. It's unreal. And the way that Robert Patrick runs, and Jim had taught him a certain way of running, to make it look as cool and as memorable as it is.
And he looks like he's running so fast, especially when they're leaving that mall.
I think he is, man.
He looks like he's going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring up the James Cameron and Lightstorm. This Saturday, I'm supposed to go to Lightstorm to interview James Cameron.
Oh, it's cool.
And
The new Lightstorm.
Yeah, but I want to walk through this, hopefully,
Well, now
a different hallway.
it's different now. No, that's
Yeah.
the old Lightstorm building that was in Santa Monica. This is now probably part of Manhattan Beach,
Probably,
where
yeah.
we shoot Avatar, and
Yeah.
now we have a museum.
Oh.
Yeah, which is awesome. And so you'll walk into a room where there's all the memorabilia.
Dude, come with me on Saturday. We'll geek out.
I go down there tomorrow. Yeah.
You're going there
That's where we
tomorrow?
work.
Oh my gosh.
So there's the sound stages are there, but also this museum, and it's the museum is really cool because I remember even in his office in Lightstone, which was no bigger than this room, he had all the Titanic wheel, the arm, and he's got stories behind it all. Now you go in there and there's Ailey Ripley's, the suit that she wears, and there's the amp suit from Avatar in there, and there's a replica of Titanic, and you'll love it, man. It's because he's proud of that, and And then there's another thing with Jim is that he had those posters on the wall at Lightstorm, and I think in the new Lightstorm he's got like Invasion of the Bee Woman. And I remember saying to him once, "Why have you got that?" And he said, "Because no matter how we do on our movie, I don't think it will ever be as bad as that." So it was like that.
That's his
it was something
inspiration.
like that. You can always be inspired by these
Yeah.
old B movies because he was a Roger Corman guy.
Oh, yeah.
and that's where he came from.
Before we dive into it's so funny. We've been chatting for 20 minutes, and I love this because I do actually have questions for you. But I do want to bring up one more quick thing. We were talking about DVD features at the beginning. Do you remember the special edition for Terminator 2 that had that scene where Arnold does the smile?
Oh no.
Okay, I'm gonna send this to your team once we get out of here. But there was a special edition that they released for that movie. They cut an entire sequence out where Edward Furlong teaches the Terminator how to smile. But the smile is so mechanic and weird looking. It's hilarious because he tries, like his mouth is like quivering, and it's just so good. I remember asking Arnold why it was cut, and I think it was cut because him and James had a disagreement about
probably
it.
looked too freaky
or something.
or something.
But you have to see this scene 'cause
Okay,
it's one of the
that's
best
cool.
like features of
I love
all
that
time.
movie. Arnold doesn't kill a single person in that movie.
I know.
Yeah.
What's the other
He shoots him in the leg.
in
and
the
stuff.
legs?
It's so
yeah.
cool. It's a clever concept.
What's the crazy fact about? Is it Rambo 1 where he I think he only kills one person in Rambo 1? Sylvester Stallone.
I don't know. That's something you can ask Jim. Jim wrote Rambo.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up.
There's so much there with that guy's written.
It's insane.
That will come up. It's unreal. I love talking to him about movies.
Oh my gosh, I would nerd out just to have any time to
Yeah.
chat with him. You talked a little bit about Russell Crowe and doing movies in Australia before doing American films. And I was just curious, like when you look back at that time, what was the biggest difference in doing films in Australia versus doing American films? And are there things you've learned that you still keep and learn from the Australian productions that is still with you on a film like Avatar?
Well, it's a good question. In Australia, you could predominantly say that they're all indies.
Okay.
Because we don't really have the money, unless you're like Baz Luhrmann or someone like that, or George Miller. You don't have the money to compete.
So many amazing artists come from Australia, by the way. Like George Miller is one of the greatest directors.
A lot of people, that's that great
Edgerton.
question. They always say why, and I go, because I think by the time we get over here, yeah, we know our work, and we don't want to waste our time or anyone else's. So that's how I've always looked at it. And so you have a hubbub, and most of the industry does know each other, and be it the crew and the casts, you always kind of cross over. But they're all indies, and I think it's weird because Avatar runs like an indie. It doesn't, even though it's like a massive movie, it runs exactly like an indie. That's how it feels.
Can you explain that? You mean like the production of it feels like an indie?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And what's wild about that is the juxtaposition between the effects you're using.
Yeah.
But you're saying that the filmmaking feels like
It's very
an indie.
small. Like it's very intimate.
Yeah.
Is the crew, a lot of the crew all know each other. They worked with Jim back in T2, back some on Titanic.
Yeah. Because Russell Carpenter, who shot these last two Avatars, shot True Lies and Titanic, right?
It's not only that. We're talking grips. We're talking camera operators. We're talking like a lot. There's a lot of people know each other. So that is like the indie world in Australia. And then when we shoot in the volume where we do the performance capture, that's a very intimate and quiet and safe and creative environment. And it never feels. I've always said that movie, it's like being in the eye of the hurricane. You never feel the wind burn.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I've been on I've seen Marvel sets, and I've got friends that do Marvel and Star Wars, and you can feel the pressures, and you can feel it's a different environment. Ours literally feels like a janky indie that we're completely independent of everyone else.
That makes $2 billion worldwide.
Yeah, it's bizarre, man. It's never changed, and that comes from Jim. And Jim's background is indies, so he has this thing of community and bringing people together who are creative, and taking out the kind of the business side of it. And him and John Landau are very good at that. Yeah.
And one of the things that it's interesting, and obviously I want to dive into performance capture, because I remember being a kid buying Lord of the Rings and learning about Weta and what Andy Serkis was doing back then, which was called motion capture at the time, if I had that right. And obviously performance capture, it's become more and more performance capture because, and I said this before.
I think it was performance capture with Andy.
Okay.
I think like you got to remember Andy. It's astonishing to me that Andy Serkis does not have an Oscar. It is astonishing.
You're talking when Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out.
Apes, without a doubt,
give him an Academy Award for Gollum.
His work on Caesar is great. Gollum, that was the start,
Yeah.
and he's the trailblazer of this. And I've met him a few times.
Yeah.
He's at the forefront of this always. I think it's become more performance capture because the pipeline is detailing in on the performance
And the face too, because I think originally it was like more body stuff.
I think so. I think with Gollum, they still tracked him on Gollum.
Yeah.
We have head rigs, so you put a helmet on, and there's a camera right in your face, and that's tracking all the dots on your face, which is the physiological mechanics of your face going through the system. And when Andy started, they screwed it into his head. This is no joke, man. They literally had to bolt it onto put the pressure on and squeeze it on. And it was, I've seen it. It was crap. And we had the second version of that. And so we took what Weta and him had done and we kind of created the next step. So then Jim decided, I want this kind of camera. I want this kind of thing. There was no holes in the top of the head. So I would get very hot all the time and get like...
This is the first Avatar.
The first Avatar. So I would call my helmet cam the Anna because it was giving me an aneurysm all the time. And then Jim literally got my helmet one day and just drilled holes in it because heat's got to come out of your head. Oh, wow. Now they all have holes in. They're all 3D kind of things. So we took what Andy was doing and then we trailblazed even more with these cameras. When I got hit with a stick one time, you know, Gollum doesn't get smacked around. Jake Sully did.
Yeah.
I got hit with a stick because you got a boom on your head like a football helmet with this camera on it. It nearly took my head off. And Jim realized we got to have breakaway booms.
Oh.
So now every single one has this metallic, magnetic breakaway boom.
What do you mean it breaks away?
It's magnets. So if it gets hit, it flies off. It doesn't take your head with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which back then, when the first one, we were this rudimentary thing with this design that we took from how they did Gollum. And this was the technology that Jim knew, if we get this right, we can breathe life into a digital character.
Well, and so two things that you mentioned Andy Serkis deserving an Oscar. This is something I've been saying for so long, and I think one of the things that I really want people to understand is because you're seeing a digital character in Avatar or Lord of the Rings or King Kong or whatever you're watching, there is an actor behind that performance. When we're watching King Kong, I'm emoting with King Kong's facial expressions because of what Andy Serkis...
Andy's doing, that's right.
Exactly.
It's just, look, the best
it's the
way
same thing is, there's no difference between this and live action acting.
It's true, man. Best way to describe it, it's not going to replace an actor. It might replace makeup. It's like digital makeup.
Sure.
It means that we can play a number of characters, be it Caesar, King Kong, or a Na'vi.
But the performance that you're doing on the day is what we're feeling and seeing.
Yeah, man, yeah.
And that's why I think people need to understand.
Yeah, I think it's the reason why we're doing stuff like this, to actually, for the first time, we can peel back the curtain. I think we held, Jim especially wanted to keep the mystery. Now it's okay to kind of show everyone how we do it, because that's even more crazier than when you go to Pandora in the movie, how we actually bring it to life. I think it's completely and utterly nuts.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
And part of that is that we're not standing at podiums. It's not an animation. It's not Gen AI. It's a performance that can go through a system and create and put me in the skin of a character. Just like if Jacob Elordi's putting prosthetics on for Frankenstein, we're putting it on, but we're just doing it with a different tool.
Exactly. And it's interesting because we talk about all the different scenes in Avatar and the physicality of it all. The cool thing about, with the first Avatar, specifically in the beginning, we get to meet Jake Sully in the real world. We get to actually, so you get a chance to give us the emotion of who this person is before he dives into...
I call it the spirit. That's how I look at it, because what's translating into the blue character or the Na'vi form, or when Jake's is the Avatar form, it's the spirit of me.
Yeah.
As the actor, as creating the character of Jake. Like, that's what it is. And the more truthful that I am with this technology and being in this environment that is completely and utterly false, the more honest I am in that, the more it translates and is held true in the pipeline to the end. And then that's the spirit of these characters that is connecting. Because now I think you don't go in there and you see, like, you can see every nuance of Zoe. You can see every, I'm an actor that likes making mistakes, man. So, because I think the mistakes makes us human and it's not contrived. So every kind of blink or breath or screw up that I do, I love chasing that Quicksilver. And I know that that's going to be protected as it goes down this pipeline of information. So then when I see it at the end, that's the bit that is the spirit of that character. And it now translates through this digital makeup better than it did on the first movie, absolutely.
The first movie in particular, because I remember, I'll never forget seeing it, because it was the 3D technology, the camera that was used for that was remarkable. Because what I love about the 3D in Avatar is that it's not coming at you. It's more depth of field. It's more of like the lived-in world. But when you look back at the first Avatar, like the rudimentary aspects of kind of like how the system was working, and you said it was the second generation of what Andy was already doing with Lord of the Rings and everything. How did the flying scenes work back then versus how they work now?
Exactly the same as they do now.
Oh, so it's like, so you're on like a rig and they're blowing wind at you. Like, how does it look?
Like, just with that 3D camera thing, even when you talk to Jim about that, that's just the final tool. Jim designed those cameras, he built it, but he just believes that's another tool to immerse you in a world.
Was it one camera with two lenses?
It's something like that. It's more this way. But now they're getting smaller and smaller. His designs are getting smaller. But that he doesn't care about that. Like he knows that probably better than anybody because he built the camera and understands the stereoscopic way to use it.
I like the high frame rates in Way of Water.
That
was kind of cool.
He loves all of that, and that's his wheelhouse. But that does not affect anything that we do.
Okay,
like we're not acting for 3D, and we're not that. That's just his place. That's how he loves telling movies. Ours is as basic and as rudimentary as it comes. It's like if we have to fly on a bird, they build like a big fiberglass bird or banshee, and we string it up and we sit on it and we ride it. And pretty basic.
But I mean, but at the end of the day, you have to do it so naturally. You can't.
Well, we had to design how to ride it first. Like no one knew how to ride the damn thing because it doesn't exist.
But if the flight is taking a dip or it's flying around or you're in the middle of an action scene and things are being thrown at you, how does that come up? Like do they actually maneuver you down?
Yeah, you got to go back to. We literally have to. Jim works on detail, so you have to design. He designs, someone draws the bird that comes out of Jim's imagination. Now you have to make that. So now we have a physical picture of it. Now they're going to make a digital version of it. Now we have to we build something that corresponds to the digital version. So in this case, a banshee. So they build a fiberglass bird and then they hang it in the air because obviously the banshee's in the air when it has to be, or if it's on the ground, we can put it on the ground. But now you have to figure out the detail of how you ride that bird.
Right.
So Jim and everyone and the actors, we all sit around and work out the mechanics of how to ride it. And it's not as simple as just get on it and put your foot on it because Jim might say, well, your foot's covering its clavicle or your foot's covering its breath. That's where it's going to die if you ride it that way. And Jim liked motorbikes. He rides motorbikes. So there's a motorbike element to it that he thought would be a bit more dynamic.
Yeah.
When the birds got bigger, I had to ride it like a surfboard. I had to get up on its neck on the big Leonoptrics. But it's all figured out as a team, problem solving, how to ride something that doesn't exist. And then when we ride it, that information goes back into the system and then you see it in real time and it looks perfect. And so,
you can see the
everything. You see everything real time.
So like you're sitting on the bird and you have a screen that shows you
us on the bird.
Is the bird finalized, or is it like
it's like a rudimentary,
crude?
Very crude. It's got a lot better. It's say about 60%. It's not obviously 100% rendered.
Wow.
But what it does, that was the difference between our performance capture and anyone else's, is that Jim designed a camera where he can put it anywhere in this empty space and see the digital world live. And so if he points it in the air and there's trees, we then know we have to build a structure over the top of us that is trees that correspond to that. If he points it at the ground and there's rocks, well, we have to build structures that are rocks because it's all about truth in imaginary circumstances. And that's the imaginary circumstance, and now we've got to build the world to have the truth. So if we're riding a banshee, he can point it at the banshee, we see it, I sit on top of it, I can wave, the character can wave straight away. And that's how you're kind of building these worlds. And the more honest we are in the worlds and the more detailed we are in the worlds, the more that can bring that to life. And it's just problem solving. Originally it was done like I need to push through trees and it's almost like pantomiming. Well, your body reacts differently when it actually touches something. So we put something there that corresponds with the digital world. And so
you can see yourself touching the digital version of what
I can see myself. I'll do this, and I go, "What is that here?" And there'll be like a plant, and I can see it. And then I go, "Let's put something there then," because if that's a plant, my body's going to react differently to reality, and then I don't have to think about it. And we do that with everything. From they'll have me carving an animal. So you go, what's in my hand? They go, it's an animal. So they don't just give you a block of wood or a piece of plastic with dots on it. We run down the 7-Eleven around the corner and get ourselves a fish. And so I can actually do it for real, and then it looks like we're doing it for real. And everything, so everything you see that we do, riding a banshee, going underwater.
That was the next question.
Yeah, that was the next step. We couldn't fake going underwater, so they built the volume as a massive tank, and we go underwater.
So you're in the performance capture suit.
Yeah, all with electronics.
And how is that safe with the electronics?
This is I trust Jim.
This will work.
Yeah.
But so when you did when the water became part of it, obviously in the second one, how did that affect the way you? Well, obviously water affects the way you move.
Well, that was part of the problem solving for everyone. Because if you dive in water, it slows you down. So
Yes.
so you couldn't do that with pulleys and ropes. And the water that you see as well, like these are high-tech questions that you can ask Jim. The water that you see doesn't actually exist. It's
That's
digital
right.
water.
But you're in real
But
water.
we have to be in
filming
real
it.
water because if you take away it's the physics don't work.
Yeah.
You know, as I bomby into the water, my body will slow down. So as you see me bomby into digital water, if I don't slow down, your brain as an audience will go, something's up. That's why everything is tactile. Everything has to be detailed. And it's super detailed, man.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference. And that's Jim's gift, is that he'll question everything. And then knowing him for as long as I know and doing this as long as I've done, I question everything. So you always together, you're problem solving. What's this? Why is that? How does this work? How do we do this? How do we do that? And it's not like the old days where there was a guy with a tennis ball or there was nothing there, which was like the old Star Wars saga when they came out.
Yeah,
So
where,
that's
like,
incredibly
miniatures.
hard.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to Ewan McGregor, he said it was the most difficult time of his life. He had no idea what was going on. We can have puppetry in ours. We just always have something that we bounce off to make the performance capture real.
I think what blows my mind the most, I remember seeing this in the first Avatar and then Way of Water, it's the eyes.
Yeah.
There's something about the eyes. And I know we're seeing a digital version of it, but I feel like there's...
That's what the head cam
Yes,
does.
but
So
it
the
picks it up.
Yeah, the head cam tracked everything. So
Yeah. Even a smirk
Yeah.
or like you said, a blink.
Yeah,
These are all emotional
It's insane
tools.
how detailed it's got, and that's just information. The more information they have about my face and the mechanics of how my face works. If I cry, there's something that happens in my face that I'm unaware of. But there's a guy in the technical department who understands that. Now when we film, we have reference cameras, and basically like the cameras you got here, and that's what Jim uses to understand the performance, because the virtual is very rudimentary.
Yeah.
And that becomes like, that information, that reference information is pure gold, because that has all my performance. And as it goes down the pipeline and the information from the physiological dots and goes through the system and starts getting rendered, they always go back to this reference to match it and show that it's exact. So when I cry and my eye does that, if it doesn't do that on the final product, then it's bullshit. It's animated. And their job is to protect that performance. And that would never been pushed to the extreme that we do it. Jim protects everything, and he promised me that when I first met him. He said, it will all be your performance. We're not going to put anything on it. We're not going to over animate it. We'll animate ears because you don't have ears and a tail, but it's your performance 100%. And he's done that. He was a man of his word.
Do you have a reference for the tail at all?
We do have tails. We put them on if they're needed. Yeah, we were going to have them all the time. And then we found that we didn't have to need them all the time. If you sit down sometimes, but Navis don't sit down, they squat.
Yeah.
So, and there you go. That just came out of practice and problem solving.
Yeah.
But if I grab someone's tail, I have to have the reference. So I have to have, because my hand touching something and yanking something, their body's going to react.
Wow.
So we do that with ears. Like I'll stroke the kid's ear and we'll have ears on our helmet, which people think is weird when they come in there. But if you've got a young girl like Took, the character of Took, I'll play with her ears a bit. So I need the reference of the ears.
Cool.
Yeah, and then she can feel it and react.
Wow. Do you remember the first time you saw this happen with your performance? Meaning that, like on the first Avatar, do you remember the first time you did a scene and then saw the after effect of what it looked like digitally?
We see it all the time. As
Right,
I said.
I know.
So,
I'm talking
yeah.
about like when you saw it finished.
The rendered?
Yeah.
Well, we see it all the
finished.
way through. Jim's very open. I know I've done movies where everything is segregated.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
All right, because suddenly it becomes makeup department, producers, editors. It feels like these little teams.
Yeah.
Making a movie is a collaboration, right? Jim understands that. So when anything came through the system that was rendered, everybody gets together and
Like
watches
dailies
it. Oh my
almost.
God. Well, he's a big believer in that. He's a big believer in we're making it all together. So why not? And other movies don't. Like I've done something recently. They won't show me anything. I didn't even watch the playback. They go, no, you can't watch playback. And
It's
you're going,
funny you
are
bring
you
this
out of
up.
your mind? Like it's a collaborative process. We're all here to see. I remember Robert Altman used to show movies to everyone at the end of the week. Fantastic idea. Brings people's buoyancy up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what department you are, you're all into it. Now Jim is very cognizant of that and shows these renderings that come through because suddenly everybody sparks by how amazing it is. Yeah, so the first time I saw it, I think it was the scene where Zoe Natiri goes to shoot Jake. And the wood sprite comes down in the first movie. I think that was the very first 100% rendered thing we saw.
And I
burst out laughing. And when I'm laughing, it's a great thing because I'm going, this is fucking working, man. You've said what you said.
Like, are you seeing the work you did in that moment?
Yeah,
on his
and
face?
more on Zoe because it's a close-up on Zoe, but we'd crossed that. They called it the uncanny valley, didn't they? And Jim, as soon as we saw that scene, I remember sitting in the screening room that he's got and went, you cracked it. Like,
wow.
That's Zoe, but she's big, 9 foot tall, blue with yellow eyes and ears. But that's her, man. That's what she did. And then now you can watch the reference camera performance and the rendered performance and put them side by side, and they're identical. There's nothing enhanced about it. It's so amazing that they protect it. Yeah.
Unbelievable. You've listened to this show, so you probably know I ask a lot about score. I love film score. I love music. James Horner. That original Avatar score was just remarkable. I mean, and obviously when you hear it, even when you watch the new trailer for the new film, they hit that beat.
It's Simon. I think Simon, the new composer, was
yes.
I think he was James
protege.
was his mentor, protege. That's the word. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's where I wanted to go because when you go from James Horner and obviously Simon takes over for the second and the third film now, and Simon's an incredible composer as well. But you have the beating heart of James's original music.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Do you remember the first time you heard that main Avatar theme that James wrote, and like what is
As I said, Jim shares everything. He'll share pictures. Like even I remember they drew all the pictures and had music. They have it all starting as it's coming in.
So James was working on it in production
the whole time. He's working on it right up, and now he's probably still working on it. If they didn't have to lock off, he'd still be working on it.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Jim. We do these things. We started 2 and 3 in 2017. They didn't finish till the other day. Now, it wasn't, we go away and do other movies, but we'll get phone calls to come back in and listen to some music or, hey, check out this rendering, or I want you to do another scene because I've come up with a really cool idea. So you're continually connected to this world. And that's the difference between us and other movies. It feels like this weird family where we go in and out and continually build and paint this thing.
Well, that's interesting too, because what I don't think people understand is if you're jumping in and out of the Avatar world, you're working on other projects within that time period. So you're going in and out of different characters. And the beauty of acting is you get to live the life of people that you're not. And I know, and I've said this before on the show, but I remember interviewing Ben Stiller once about Severance. And we were talking about this idea, I've said this in the show before, but like when an actor leaves their set at the end of the day and goes home, that idea of severing the character that they're playing and then going back to being themselves. If you're jumping in and out of different roles and then entering back into the Avatar world, is that a strange dynamic to kind of like, okay, I just played this guy over here, but now I have to go back and play Jake, and I have to figure out where he is continuity-wise.
You do have to do that. The continuity that never bothers me.
Really?
I think actors, that's just some weird thing that we all understand. And
you can just set back into where he is.
It's hard to get into the spirit of Jake.
Okay.
Because Jake's spirit is what I had at 29, and he's definitely different to me. So it's hard. You have to get in the motor of it. But we work such long hours that it's like you have time to process to get back in. It's like Zoe will find Natiri, but it would take her a bit to get back in. But you can. I think that's the alchemy of acting, is that we can kind of change our spirits and change who we are depending on the characters we're playing.
What's your anchor for Jake? What's the anchor? What's the thing that like sets you back into his place?
Look, he's a devil-may-care kind of attitude. Like it's pure balls. It's pure like instinct. So. No, it takes me a while. I'm quite introverted, and Jake is more, I'll just do it, and it takes me a while to bring that part of me out. And so if there's a cliff, I'm gonna go, I don't think I should jump off the cliff, whereas Jake doesn't question it and jumps off. So you have to kind of get back into that logical way of thinking. The protective aspect of him is easy to get hold of, but it's that original aspect of a character that went to another planet because he got asked to, of that fuck it attitude, which I had at 29.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it. Whatever. I had it in me. It's a swagger that you kind of, that was part of the Jake process when we created him. But so we'll try to do like a stunt or something where, or a scene where Jake's bravado comes out, because then it starts to ramp and come out of me. Yeah.
Well, that leads to me to an interesting question as well, because if you're playing a character for as long as you've played Jake, I have to imagine that characters sometimes not bleed into your real life like a method thing, but more of like maybe aspects of that individual or that character you play become part of you. And I just wonder, like, do you find that Jake has given you the authority, the idea of being maybe more extroverted? Like, I'm just curious if he's
a good
affected
question,
you.
man.
Yeah.
Look, Jake, when we did the first one, I balanced him as my nephew at the time. So my nephew was about 10 or 11. And if you told my nephew don't touch something, he did.
Okay.
Now, there's a scene where they tell Jake Sully don't touch something, and he does.
And he does, yeah.
So, and our idea came from my nephew.
Cool.
Because I said to Jim, I remember thinking and discussing with Jim about it, and said, you've made this hard-ass Marine. But the movie isn't about a hard-ass Marine, really. It's about a kid standing up to bullies. That's what he's doing. So I said, no one can, if you play him as a full-tilt hard-ass Marine, there's no really connection in there. But if he's got this petulant kind of child attitude to him, matched in the guise of these hard-ass Marines and these devil dogs, then that's a kind of a cool way in for everybody. Like, kids can get into that. And as that's going, that's one of the touchstones that I hold on to. But then Jake has grown up and had a family. Sam's grown up and had a family.
Yeah.
And there's parts of Jake that have to step into being a leader. That there's part of the lead of a movie, you got to step up, and then you got all these kids in the movie, and you got to show them like welcome to Hollywood kind of thing, and lead by example.
So your lives were kind of paralleled
in a weird way. And Jim's very good at kind of using what's in our life. Now, I don't mind that as an actor. I think all acting for me as an actor comes from the inside. So that's something that I understand. And working with Jim, he creates those aspects. He knows I have 3 sons. Jake Sully has the same amount of kids. He's got 3 sons if you include Spider. So it's like, it's this weird thing of Jim uses stuff from our life, knowing that I'm willing to kind of open myself up to where that takes me. It's not replicating Sam. It's using parts of me to journey into Jake. It's kind of cool, but that's because I trust Jim and he understands what type of actor I am.
Well, I guess that kind of then answers this question, this idea of like when you have kids, it has to change the artist you are. I would imagine the way you emote to the material, and like you're talking about with Jake, like obviously when Jake ends up having kids in the story, it changes the way he does certain things.
Maybe because I don't use my kids that way.
Okay,
but I when you become a dad, something opens inside you.
Sure.
And when you're playing a role of a protective father, you can tap into that feeling and then go on that journey with that feeling. So becoming a dad opened up a lot of things. Yeah. That was when Jim would say, I'm building a family. And we'd go, it's kind of, and it's insane. Zoe's got the same amount of kids. Like it's weird. He's very smart at tapping into that. It's what he saw, I think, when I was 29. He wrote this Jake Sully character, was looking at hundreds of actors, many, many famous actors, trying to find the spirit. And as I said, the spirit of that character was a guy who dived in, went to another planet, and did whatever these crazy people, wanted him to do.
Yeah.
I didn't give a fuck at 29, really. Dove into Hollywood and did whatever these crazy people wanted me to do. So he's very good at these similarities with his characters and his actors. And I think he's done that his whole career. He's managed to marry the right actor to the right part. And as I say, casting if you get that right, that's 95% of your job done as a director.
Yeah. I should have brought this up earlier when we were talking about Terminator, but in 2009, you did Terminator Salvation and Avatar. Both of those films came out in the same year.
Yeah.
You shot Avatar first,
I shot Avatar first.
And then Terminator was led to because of James?
No, I got a call from McGee about it. And And then I asked Jim if it's okay. I remember, because it wasn't related to Jim in any way, apart from he came up with the original. But he wasn't connected to the franchise at that point. I think he's got the rights back now. But I did ask him and said, would it be okay if I did that? Is that a dumb move or something? Yeah, but it was weird. It was just one of those weird things that happened.
It's serendipitous in a way.
It's just one of those weird things that popped up.
But it's interesting, if you look at the movies that you made in between the first Avatar and then while filming the second one and then the third one, you are learning as an actor. You're working with different filmmakers, so those filmmakers' voices are affecting you and staying with you in a way. Did you feel a difference in playing Jake in 1 versus 2 and 3 with the work you had done in between?
I always do. Like, my biggest thing, I love Jim, right? That guy changed my life. So I have a responsibility to that guy that if we didn't know we were going to do 2 and 3, you got to understand that. He just wrote 1 standalone. Then when I got a call about 2 and 3, I was doing work that I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm still learning how to act, right? Yeah. Even though you're 30 doing massive movies like Terminator, I'm still learning how to act, man. That's how I've always seen it. And each job I'm trying to understand what this craft is and understand my place in it.
You did some great films. Like Hacksaw Ridge is phenomenal. Yeah,
it's a weird thing, man. I have mates that play in a band, right? They jam with their mates in the room, and they can, all their crappy songs that don't kind of work, they put aside. They don't put them on an album and release them. They get the best album they can and release it. And the same with sportsmen. All the mistakes that they make are in the practice, in the training. And then when they play the game, they're on point. As an actor, I found I couldn't do that. I can't do a movie in my bedroom by myself. I have to learn how to act in a movie on a movie set. That's how I felt. So a lot of my shit songs and a lot of my bad practices went out into the zeitgeist. But I never worried about it. I thought if I could survive, I'll be okay, man, right? But each one helped me, was a building block.
It was blockbuster after blockbuster.
No, I didn't do that many blockbusters.
Wrath of Titans was a big movie. Terminator was a big movie.
Yeah, and I realized that they weren't there were different blockbusters to say how we looked at Avatar.
Sure.
And there was more of a business associated with them. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And then I still felt in that I was faking it till I make it, to be honest. I didn't know what acting was. So I go do movies like Hacksaw, all these other ones, to learn how to act. And you're acting opposite, Andrew Garfield and Harvey Keitel and Costner and all these people. And you're learning from all these people in my industry, so that when I went back to Jim, he saw an advancement. That's what I wanted. And I wanted my original boss, the guy I admire more than anything, to go, dude, you've really been putting in the hours here and you've tried really hard, so now we can push Jake in a totally different direction and go deeper with him.
Do you see a difference in the performance between 1 and 2?
I'd hope so. Otherwise, what the fuck have I been doing?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm asking. Like, do you actually see it on screen? Like, do you go, I'm a better actor in 2?
I don't know about a better actor. I think I've got a lot more relaxed and can take a lot more risks, and I'm not as hard on myself as I was back then in some of those movies. I worked with a lot of different actors where I couldn't see the strings, man, and I was like, I want to do what you guys are doing. So I would ask a lot of actors advice, man, and then you do a movie to test drive it, and then that movie may not do so well, and you hope you're going to survive to get another one and not be unemployed. And you get another one and you try something else. So then when we did Avatar 2, we were taking more risks with the character, and they're deeper and more emotional. And I think that's just part of that sideways kind of parallel where, Jake's getting older and wiser and deeper himself, and Sam was getting older and wiser and deeper. And then it happens with 3. It happens, if we go forward, hopefully you can kind of, that growth goes not only with the character but with me.
Is 4 or 5 started at all?
Not really. He wrote them. We've read them. Yeah.
Well, and then just are you excited to make them? I'm sure you are, but
we don't know. Like, it sounds so weird when we say we don't know, but that's coming from Jim. You have to ask him. These are movies that cost a lot of money, and so I know they make a lot of money, but that's a different ball game, man. Sure. So it's kind of like it all depends if people. You don't know when these movies come out, even if they're going to connect. I know that sounds so weird.
Yeah.
But we don't think that way. Like, as I said, when we film it, we're so insular and so kept away from everything that we just tell these stories and live with these characters. And that's what Jim's doing. Jim's not thinking, oh, I'm going to make this amount of money. He doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
It's not how you should work.
He's not thinking, I'm going to make number 1 and make a sequel. And then as he's filming number 2, he's thinking of number 3. Now, I've done movies that did do that had the hubris to say, this movie will work and we'll do this in the sequel. As we're filming the fucking movie, as I could feel that movie drowning and dying.
Yeah.
And you're going, that's such an arrogant way of looking at filmmaking.
Yes. Whereas
Jim is all about the creative. And that's what we focus on, the characters and the story. And can we tell this story the best we can? If we're lucky, the alchemy connects with an audience.
Yeah.
And that leads itself into whatever the success is. But he's certainly not the leader that is driven by that. There's no what, like, I've known him 20 years. He doesn't think that way. Even on this one, he's like, look, I think the story's better than 2. I think it's gone a lot deeper and we've taken more risks. Let's see what it does. And in 3 weeks' time, we'll see what it does, man. And then we'll go from there. And if we're lucky to keep going telling the saga, fantastic. But if not, it's okay.
You already made 2 more than you thought you were going to make.
That's right, man. And we've given it the best we can.
Yeah.
And that's led by him.
Yeah. Well, my hope in that this conversation leads to more discussions about performance capture and awards and kind of how it needs to be looked at as acting. And I think the one thing I wanted to bring back up from a conversation we had, you said something interesting about a couple minutes ago about the business side of Hollywood. And I did this interesting Q&A recently with Ryan Reynolds. We were at a business summit talking about this exact thing, this juggling act of art and business. And that's what movie making is all about. It's like you think about like Jaws, for example, like that shark kept breaking down and they were going to fire Spielberg, and then they figured out, oh, less shark makes this scarier. Necessity is the mother of invention. And that's kind of that beauty of art and business kind of like finding their own lane. Can you speak about that as an artist, like in the sense of like, obviously business is part of this. I know that you were saying that Jim isn't thinking about that.
Imagine trying to pitch this. Imagine Jim pitching Avatar.
Yeah.
It's about big blue cat-like people on a planet that doesn't, on a moon, that doesn't exist.
He's coming off Titanic.
Okay, but imagine pitching Titanic. I remember everyone said to him, fuck, we know how it ends, mate. The boat sinks.
Yeah.
So why are we going to watch it? I remember that clearly was some guy said that to him. Yeah. And he was pitching it as Romeo and Juliet on a boat.
Yeah.
Real simple. So he had it in his heart. And show business is 2 words. That side of it, I've had a lot of run-ins with it. Someone like Ryan navigates it very, very well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of actors who can understand it. I tried in my young arrogance to think that I could handle it, and it wasn't very good.
Couldn't handle the business side of it?
I fucking hated even those kind of conversations. Yeah. Even talking about it when I was in my 30s was like
salary, like
just
back
whatever,
end stuff.
or producing shit and all of that stuff. It doesn't mean. I thought that's what you meant to do as an actor. Like, understand that. It's for a guy like me. The creative is always number 1. It's the same as when I got lucky to make movies in Australia. You weren't thinking, will this movie travel to America? Will I end up having a Hollywood career off these 2 little movies in Australia? Like, you can't think that way. You can't, as an actor, have that much hubris, I think. But I think that, and the same with making something like Avatar. What am I meant to go? Well, let's look at the stats.
Yeah.
Jim Cameron made Titanic, but this will come out 13 years after Titanic. You're like, look at it. It doesn't work that way. It's not baseball. You're not looking at the stats. You're just going, is this a story that we can tell authentically and truthfully, and hopefully it connects? That's how I have to look at it. I can't look at it the other way of it. Yeah, and there's guys out there who are very talented and can do it way better than I'll ever. Yeah.
Going back to the score question I was asking about James Horner, and obviously that led to Simon, and the music in Avatar is, if you look at all of James's movies, the T2 score, Brad Feidel's score, is incredible.
Yeah.
And then obviously what James did on Titanic, the first Avatar, and now Simon with the second and third Avatar. What is your relationship to music in movies? And do you have like...
I watched that doco the other day, the score doco.
Oh, I haven't seen this, no.
It's like on Prime Amazon or something. It's called Score.
Are you a big score guy?
Well, I am after watching that.
Hell yeah.
It's weird. My relationship... look, the classic was Mean Streets, boom, boom, boom. You know, the Renettes.
Dude, think about Bernard Harmon's score in Taxi
How he
Driver.
reused it. He said, I want that guy to come out, but it's a weird thing. I was a Reservoir Dogs boy, you know, and stuck in the middle with you. Like,
dude, do you remember
my
the
green
first
bag?
time?
You know that. So I was on that world. Scores is something that I came to kind of late. When you would talk to directors and they go, what do you think of this orchestral score? They'd take me into when it's recorded. That happened a lot. And it was me, because in Australia, we didn't, I remember it was only one movie where I really cared about it, but it's something that has evolved with me over
Which one
more
was
movies.
it?
I did a thing called Somersault, and it was with a band called Dakota Ring.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to see the impact of how that side of it affects storytelling. And so it did hit me late when I talked to directors and go, why have you chosen to do this kind of music and not contemporary music, or why are you making original music or not taking something from like Beethoven, you know what I mean? Which that was always Kubrick's thing. He couldn't compete with Beethoven, so he'd put that into 2001. So it's a fascinating world, and that doco opened me up even more. Yeah.
It's funny you brought up 2001. You just reminded me of something, because when I interviewed
Was
James.
it the Blue Danube they use?
Oh, for.
Isn't it? You know, is it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, when you see the spaceship for the first time.
Dude,
and I read an interview and Kubrick said I couldn't compete with that. No, I couldn't say to a composer, can you compose something like this?
Right.
When I might as well just use that.
Use that. Dude, I still watch 2001 and still go, how the hell did they do that? Like, I still don't understand how Kubrick made that
So
film.
I think when I first met Jim, I said to him, who do you admire? And his first question was scientists, engineers, and astronauts and things like that, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't straight, I like this director and that. But the directors that I know you have to ask him that he admires are Kubrick and Ridley Scott.
Yeah, it's funny because you just reminded me of something. There's a book that was released when 2001 came out. When I interviewed James Cameron for Way of Water, I asked him a question. I was like, what was your T2? What was that for you? And he goes, it was 2001.
There you go,
And he goes, I bought this book when it first came out that was like this 95-page book that explained how 2001 was made. So last night, I'm looking on Google, and I found the book at a bookshop a half a mile from here. So I got it for Jim.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to bring it to him.
That's really cool.
Because I don't know if he still has it.
I think the float that we do at the start of Avatar was inspired by that.
Was
something.
it?
I think there's something in that where he said if you just do the mechanics of the float and the way that I'll lie you will look like you, you know, Jake strapped into a bed.
Yes.
And it was like an undulation of my body that I did just upright. But because then he twisted the camera, it looks like I'm floating.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think things like that, Jim's very practical, and I've learnt a lot about how the practical side of things, you know, and those tricks from the past.
Yeah.
You know, we marry them with the digital future, and that's where Jim exists. And I've learnt a lot in that regard.
I'm in the middle of a crazy Buster Keaton phase right now, where I'm watching all of his, because back then you're shooting you have the 4:3, 1:3:3, whatever the ratio is, and the things that are not in the frame are what are actually even more interesting than what's in the frame.
Yeah.
Because you build this whole world, and like Buster Keaton, I don't know if you ever watched like The Cameraman
I love all those silent movies. Look, my joke to young actors was it's motion pictures, not motion words. And and I remember I went through a phase of looking at all the silent, you know, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd,
Charlie Chaplin,
all of those classics, and then you learn how to tell a story, like, you know, cinematically, through physicality and through no words.
I remember Denzel Washington. I know we have a couple minutes left, but I remember Denzel Washington said he put on a character's shoes on once, and that helped him find the characters. How, like, when you're approaching a character, whether it be Jake Sully or anybody you're playing, where does your physicality start from?
It's weird. I'm an inside out kind of guy,
okay.
So I always start inner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's even though I went to drama school where they taught you outside in. You know, Kate Blanchett would get the hair right and then find who look in the mirror and see who she is. So I'm the other way around. So it takes a while. Yeah, and I played a lot of conduit characters, so I didn't really have to change the outside.
Interesting.
But the inside is you know where does that person come from? What happened to them as a kid? You know, things like that is what I work on more. And then hopefully when I was younger, you think you know everything.
Yeah.
So now I yield to now you understand what the costume person is, what the makeup, what the director's job is, and I love being able to come in and go, this is where I'm coming from, and collaborate with their ideas and how they read the script. I love that. That part of the process I love.
Do you miss characters you play? Do you ever miss them after a production? Like,
it's an interesting story. I've never thought about it.
Like, do you will they linger with you ever? Are ones that harder to let go of than others? And like, have you had periods of time where it was like,
because you're painting using the paint from yourself? Sometimes they're hard to let go, or hard to get back to your washing and your kids going to school.
Yeah.
And you have like the wake, I call it. Like I can feel there's a wake, like a boat wake.
Right. It's lingering.
Yeah. And my wife will tell me, she'll go,
oh, wow.
That's your behavior. That's because it's all human behavior. So she'll go, your behavior is the guy you were just playing, and you got to leave that.
Yeah, I remember Ryan.
You can't bring that home. You know?
Ryan Reynolds told me when he would shoot Deadpool, he would go home and he would, because you're acting through a mask.
Yeah.
He said he would still overly do things when he got home because he thought he was acting through it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting, because I guess it just stays with you, like muscle memory.
You can feel it coming. Like I love that. That to me is a great feeling. Like there's a job that I do in January, and I can feel it bubbling. Like I've had the conversations with the director.
Coming to you.
It's been months now. You know, we've been talking to the director, understanding that, and you're unlocking the doors, and it's bubbling. It's not about lines. It's not about blocking. It's not about any of that crap. It's about the spirit and about the trust that you can unlock something that is close to the behavior of this other person. I always say I learn more about myself walking in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
And part of that is trying to figure out what, as you said, Denzel gets the physical shoes and it helps.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the emotional shoes. And I love that process. So it's weird. I'll just walk around New York. I don't know. It's just stewing. You're cooking something. You're painting. You're trying to find a muse to get it out. And my kids see it. They go, oh, Dad needs to go. Dad needs to start, playing dress ups again, because he's starting to.
They can see you changing physicality.
It's your behavior, man.
Yeah.
With me, it's my behavior. It's how I react, because you're trying to get how the character sees the world. And so by the time you roll the camera, the words and all that don't matter. It's just the action, what you're doing. And that has to kind of, hopefully it works, and then that takes you on another journey when you paint with the movie. So, and I just love that process. I love when it comes. As you said with Jake, when I know, it's not like Jim will call me up on a Friday and on the Monday I have to be Jake. I'll know it's coming. So you start kind of pulling it back out.
Yeah.
So with characters that you've already found it's a lot easier to kind of get that spirit back out.
I meant to ask this earlier, because the characters are so tall. Has that changed at all from the first one to the third one? How they give you that height? Are you?
No. When we do the performance capture, we just play as is, because it's all about, the only thing that is completely and utterly real is the other person.
Okay.
So Sigourney plays a 14-year-old.
Right.
So Sigourney is taller than me, but the character is smaller than me.
So how do they do that?
So we tried doing it, putting me on risers, her down. We tried all of those
like force
tricks.
perspective and stuff like that? Yeah.
Well, they're digital, aren't they?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But when you film it, we tried doing hands up, hands down, eye lines up, and we found it actually got in the way of the truth. So now we just play it as is, and it doesn't take much to just adjust my eyes.
They digitally move your...
Well,
that's interesting.
We kind of understand, like most movies can do that anyway, but we have this... There's one thing that people will go, oh, but there we go, I told you he's animated, but it's not. It's just to connect me to the young girl. But when I was pretending to like rub Sigourney's shoulder, that would be like, Sigourney's lower back.
Right.
So it felt odd. So we decided to play everything for real. So I rubbed Sigourney's shoulder. So when people walk in there and I'm doing scenes with Sigourney's acting like a 14-year-old, has the spirit of a 14-year-old, and I'm talking to her going, all right, baby girl, and consoling her like I would a child.
Wow.
People think it's fucking wacky, because even my kid the other day is going, my kid was down there watching the monitor, seeing 14-year-old, and then watching the reference camera and seeing Sigourney and going, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, well, that's the magic.
That's acting. That's movie making.
And that's it. We found that if we just went for the truth, that would always keep us real. Yeah.
All right, we gotta get out of here in a couple minutes. I'm gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions. I usually ask these at the end.
All right.
Real quick question: movie you would love to rewatch again for the first time, like meaning that you erase the memory, you don't know anything about it.
Silence of the Lambs.
Why?
shocked the pants off me, that
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, and it's because I know James Gunn is coming, and I know he's getting out.
Yeah.
If I didn't know anything about that, it would hit me like it did the first time.
You know what's
Complete shock.
mind-blowing is how small Hopkins' screen time is in that film. I
Tiny,
think it's
but
like
so
It's
powerful.
like 16 or 17 minutes or something like that.
Oh, so powerful. And look, I think that, she won an Oscar, Anthony
Jodie
won an
Foster,
Oscar.
yeah.
Why didn't the guy that played James Gunn win an Oscar? Because
yeah.
holy crap, he can't be like that in real life.
There's
That's an incredible performance when
Yeah.
he's dancing like the in the human skin. That's
Yeah.
an incredible performance.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Favorite shot in movies? Like a movie that comes to mind where you go, that shot is incredible.
the Jaws one.
The dolly zoom.
Yeah, everyone remembers
Dude,
that.
if you go to the museum,
that.
the Academy Museum, they have a dolly track set up, and you sit in the chair, and they do a 3-second dolly zoom, and it looks.
Everyone remembers that
It's
shot.
sick.
It's so classic.
I mean, dude, the first time I saw Vertigo, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
But the beauty, and I say this,
And
in
they're
the
those tricky shots that those people like Spielberg and Hitchcock, they know they're not showing off with that shot.
No, they're emotional.
Yeah, they're using it to get the emotion.
Yes.
Exactly what I was going to say.
That's to me, that's what's so interesting. Cinematographers and filmmakers, they're not going for a cool shot. It's narratively driven.
I'm a big Gaspar Noé fan.
Yes.
I love Gaspar's work. That's one guy I'd love to work with.
Yeah.
And that's him. It's all the feeling. It's all about feel. It's like, it's a different way of filmmaking, different way of storytelling.
Well, it's also just like important that like these narrative conversations happen between a DP and a filmmaker. It's like lens choices, aspect ratio, it all plays into why we feel a certain
When
way.
he does that Enter the Void.
Yes.
And even on Irreversible, I remember this comes off like a behind the scenes DVD where he said the sound frequency is when they walk into the Tenaya Club or whatever it's called. The sound frequency is a set at a frequency that makes you feel sick.
Yes.
That makes you vomit. Like that's another level of thinking and using
and
score.
It's subconscious.
Yeah, and you wonder why you're getting nauseous. And it's a heavy scene, but
dude,
he's triggered you.
In the history of me watching films, the only movie I've ever turned off was Irreversible after the fire extinguisher scene. Because the fire extinguisher scene, if people haven't seen this film, is a person being beaten in the face with a fire extinguisher, and the camera is spinning, and it's in a oneer.
Yeah.
And it
doesn't cut away from the bashing. It's
never made it
incredible.
past it. Never made it past that scene.
It's one of my favorite movies. That literally would be top 5 for me, that movie.
And
it changed my life because I've never seen it with my friend.
Maybe I'll give it another
I saw
chance.
it with my friend in Australia. It's
too brutal.
And it's that's the thing. It starts off brutal, but becomes very bittersweet, and it's very romantic. And the performance of Vincent and Monica, when you get further into that movie, there's certain scenes that are just because I think they were together at the time. There's a connective tissue there that is amazing. And me and my mate watched it. We were in Australia making small Australian movies, and we went. There was one which made us go, "Whoa! It can go to a whole other level, like filmmaking." I love that film.
You know what's interesting?
And they screened it. You can, even though it runs backwards, he's done an edit that runs forward.
What?
Yeah. And whereas when it runs backward, Vincent's character seems like you think it's the bad guy. It changes the perspective of the characters because you're going, the guy that bashes the dude with the fire extinguisher, when you watch it backwards, you feel as if he's like a bad guy. But when it goes the other way, he feels like the hero because he's avenging her.
You know, it's so
weird.
I'm gonna, you know what? After I leave today, I'm gonna rewatch it. The only reason I ever turned it off, I was in college when I saw it, is after the fire extinguisher scene, I felt sick.
Yeah, but that's the music.
Like,
that's the.
I didn't feel good, and I was like, I don't know that I want to continue. But
that's probably the sonic thing that he used. It has to be.
But you know what? Now that because I think you and I have very similar tastes in movies, I'm gonna give it another chance, and I'll reach out to your team, and I'll let you know what I think about it. Yeah. Just because I want to, I am gonna give it one more shot. So
there's a great scene where he kisses her in the shower. It's beautiful, so beautiful, and a lot of Gaspar stuff I think is improvised and created out of human behavior of those people. I love that film.
Dude, we could talk all day. I mean, we could go into everything. I think we'll end on Irreversible. That's a good note to end on. But Sam Worthington...
Someone will watch the podcast backwards.
Yeah, they started here and they go back.
Go to the end,
This has been an honor, man. I can't thank you so much for being on the show. And honestly, I love your vibe. I love chatting movies with you. This just felt like a hangout. So
awesome, man.
It was fun, man.
Same.
Thank you, Sam.
Cool.